Welcome to The Storeroom, the podcast where we unlock the tales hidden within the lives of ordinary people. Join us as we delve into the depths of forgotten memories, dusty relics, and cherished mementos stored away in the corners of our lives. From heartwarming anecdotes to unexpected twists, each episode uncovers the unique narratives that define us all. Get ready to explore the hidden treasures of humanity, one storeroom at a time. Welcome to The Storeroom, where every story has a place on the shelf. Hello everyone, my name is Noah and I just want to welcome you guys to The Storeroom podcast, where every story has a place on the shelf. And today with us we have very special guests, a power couple, parents of a youth kid, Marley, that I lead. And they are Jared and Kristine. If you want to just say hi to the camera, just...
Hey guys.
Hi guys, I'm Kristine.
I'm Jared.
And they are our special guests for today. So before further ado, I just want to thank you guys so much for being a part of this conversation podcast. And honestly, it's just about getting to know you guys and your story. And I truly believe, alongside everyone who will hear this story, is that through it, that people will be blessed to see how God's been working in your lives to bring you guys to this point, right? Mm-hmm. And before we go ahead with anything, I just wanted to ask you guys about what these items are that you guys brought today. Some special items. Who wanted to go first?
Yeah, she'll go first.
Well, what I brought is the photo of my kids. So that's Tony, Marley, and Cypress. This was just taken a year ago when we went to the Philippines. And it just brings so much joy seeing them having fun and just enjoying life spending time with each other.
Yeah. That's a beautiful photo.
Yeah.
Wow. Where was this taken, sorry?
It's my auntie's beach house in Batangas, in the Philippines.
In the Philippines.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Probably next time I'll show you around there, you know.
Please do.
Yeah,
I'd love to come through.
Yeah, definitely, Noah. Yeah.
Jared, did you want to show us?
Oh yeah. Let me just. So I have this. Actually, this is my father's favorite watch.
Oh wow.
Right. So, I think this was the first fancy watch that he purchased. And this watch witnessed everything. The first time my dad drove me, I told him that I have a date. And then he was wearing this watch, I remember. The first time I crashed a vehicle, straight away he drove there, and then I remember he was wearing this watch. Also, when he became a Christian, I remember he's wearing this watch as well. So our wedding, he was wearing this watch, and the reason being I bought this watch, my dad passed away back in 2020. He was one of the first people who died from COVID. Like he died around 31st of March 2020. It was the first wave. During that time, no one knows what's happening, and we didn't have the opportunity to visit dad. So, and then I remember after a few months, I messaged my stepmom. I said, "Do you still have that watch?" I said, "Yeah." So, can you please keep that watch? So I brought this one because it reminds me of my dad. And this watch witnessed everything from the time I grew up and from ups and downs. So this watch witnessed all of those moments. Yeah.
It basically represents the life he lived as well.
That's right. Yeah.
Wow. I'm guessing that would sit in a very safe spot in the house.
That's right. I rarely wear this one, only in special occasions. But yeah, like this watch means a lot to me.
Yeah, wow.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for bringing that with you today. Yeah. And what was the significance with this photo for you, Kristine?
With me, it reminds me of the first ministry that we have as a parent, which is my kids. So a constant reminder that I have a role to play, not just to walk with them, but to also let them know about Jesus.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
I love that. And as you say that, I'm just reminded of a moment when I was dropping off Marley, and For those who don't know, Marley is their son, and
Only son.
he's such a funny and cute and kind guy. But he was telling me that with his parents, Kristine and Jared, that you guys are always kind to each other and never fight, always.
Sometimes.
at least before him,
least
right?
before,
Yeah,
yes,
yeah.
of course.
And you know, just to hear that was so refreshing for me, because it's like, wow, like there are parents that exist that exemplify that for their children. So Jared and Kristine, would you tell us a little bit about your story of from the beginning, from the Philippines to coming to Australia, this journey that you guys have had, what that looked like for you guys, and what happened throughout those times to bring you where you are today? Yeah.
At first, Kristine and I arrived. I arrived here, and then eventually I went back to the Philippines to fix her papers. But Kristine came to Sydney first, but Mary Tony needs to stay in the Philippines, so we want to have a foundation first in Sydney, and then after a few years, then we flew Tony here in Sydney, and after a few years,
Marley came about.
And then after another 6 years, Cyprus came.
It was not an easy journey, I can tell you that,
Yes.
because when we first started, it's just us, right? And I don't have my daughter with me, so she's
Oh,
left
really?
home
Oh, okay.
for a few
In the
years
Philippines?
in the Philippines. So
Yeah.
that's the hardest part,
Yeah.
establishing ourselves.
Mm.
So it was not easy, but through God's grace and His mercy, we were able to, bring her here eventually. Then when Marley came,
Yeah.
um,
There was a time that there was just misunderstanding, and they were
like raising kids,
raising
it's
kids.
just not easy. And at
It's
that
not
time,
easy,
we're
yeah.
also learning, and
There were lots of ups and downs between
Which is-
myself and Kristine,
yeah.
like our relationship. So there were times that I'm just gonna go home, go straight to bed, or I'll watch a movie, and then I think it's just that continuous routine as a person that I'll work, I'll feed the family, go back to work and sleep. But we don't have that intimate relationship between a husband and wife.
And we haven't really been to church that much as well. Like we're just working on weekends, and
'Cause
it's just
hard,
really,
'cause I remember like she has to work on weekends, I have to work on weekends as well. So she'll work in the morning, I'll start after 3 p.m. So I'll drop the kids to school, and then I'll go to work, and then after work she'll pick up the kids, and then I'll come home, all the kids, and she's asleep as well. So that's kind of like our routine for the past few years when the kids were growing. But eventually we knew that going to church is very important in our lives at the end of the day, and it changed our lives as well.
Yeah, wow. And just to ask you guys, were you guys always brought up in a Christian family, or did you guys find...
My aunties, they're all Sunday school teachers.
Oh, really?
My uncle is a pastor as well. And then I grew up in the Sunday school. And then when I met Kristine, she wasn't a Christian.
Yeah.
And then,
when I met Jared, that's how I learned about Jesus. It's his stepmom that introduced me. Well, I already know Jesus, but the relationship isn't there. And they had a Bible study at home.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, how should I attend? Like, I'm nervous because I don't know how to pray. I don't know how to, I don't know the Bible. I haven't read it. So when I first attended, this is good. So I started coming every Wednesday, and then they invited me to church. And then after a few months, I get baptized.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow,
So I thank your mom.
Shout out to her in the Philippines.
And so you guys headed over to Australia.
Yes.
Yeah. And how long was it until you guys had Tony join you guys again?
I think 3 years. Was it 3 years or 4
So
years?
we came 2008, and then she came 2011. So yeah, 3 years.
3 years, yeah.
Wow. And ever since then, what was it like for you guys in Australia, settling in a brand new country?
A big adjustment.
We just work and
So
work.
before Tony came, we just work.
Yeah.
And then when she came over, I was pregnant already with Marley. So at least during that period, I was able to look after her and Marley at the same time. And it's a struggle because I have a newborn, and then Tony, she's also
She
adjusting.
just arrived
so
here, adjusting, yeah.
Yeah, wow.
wasn't
And it was a
that
big
easy.
part of survival for you guys as well,
course.
right?
Yeah.
Establishing yourself in a brand new country. Yeah, wow. And when did you guys get planted in a church in Australia? Was it straight away, or did you guys have struggles in finding a church? What was that journey like for you guys?
Her sister has been coming to,
To one of the churches in Parramatta.
yeah, that's really
And
close to
then
us.
We bought a place in Parramatta, and then so she introduced us to one of the churches there. It's close as well, so and that's the only time we started going to that church.
Yeah, so it
Yeah.
was first it's just me coming, and then later on he joined.
Because I have to work on
yeah.
weekends.
So it's not all Sunday that he's there. So it's just me and the kids. And then we really had this big struggle, or as you can say, issue in our lives that we really hit rock bottom.
Yeah.
And at that time I said, what is this? Why is this happening? And it's like, I started to question, is this how Christian life is about? Like, full of struggles and all that. But I learned something from that, you know, it's actually a joy going through that struggle. At that time, you wouldn't know why. You question and you just have that doubt that, am I going to survive this and all? But once you come to the end of it, then you realize, okay, now I get it.
That's part
Now
of the
I
journey.
know.
Yeah.
So how did you guys endure through that, persevere through that, not knowing what was ahead and how hard it was?
Just probably
But I thank the Lord that
trusting.
even though that time that we were fighting, it was a struggle. We just had a baby. Everything's happening at the same time. Sometimes if we forget the things that He's done for us, He's still there right next to us, no matter what. He's still listening at the end of the day.
Yeah, that's so powerful, just to hear your vulnerability and the fact that through all the struggles and the difficult times that you guys came out of it, realizing that the God you guys had beside you was so much greater. And I also wanted to hear a little bit about what the transition looked like for you guys from the church in Parramatta and searching for a church, and what that looked like for you guys.
It's actually just
We
we're,
want
we're just looking for growth,
the growth.
and
yes.
we just, I feel like there's something more. And knowing Western Sydney brought that about. Like, the people that are here are so genuine with their faith, and they love Jesus so intimately and passionately. And what inspires me most is when I met Sister Grace, we talked about how to get to know Jesus and how to have that relationship. And she really walked me through it. Like, it really touched me that someone cares. She wants me to get to know Jesus in a very real way, in a way that He's the one that's gonna be your foundation. And I'm just so humbled that I got to know Sister Grace, and through her, my relationship with Jesus has flourished, and I feel like I appreciate God more, and I just couldn't ask for anything. Like, He's everything to me, and she made me realize that. That through the seasons of my life, I've seen the work of God I've seen how He works through my weaknesses, through my struggles. And you just have to remember His faithfulness in the past. And as a human, we are always forgetful. We forget the things that, the Lord has given to us. But through the times of sufferings and trials, you just have to remember where God has brought you, where God has brought me. And that's just a reminder for me every time I go through struggles in life. And I'm so grateful. I'm so grateful for the people that I've met. I may have lost a few, people in the past, but God replaced it with
family.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. How about for you, Jared? What was the journey like for you personally, finding a new church and finding a new church family?
I feel like at this church, like Kristine and I, we became closer to God. We're more intimate with the Lord. It's not that I was a stagnant Christian with the other church. It's just that probably the Lord has given us the right people to guide us with our spiritual growth in this church. Like, it never stopped, like every week from the time that I was in the hospital last December, from the time that my kids were sick, like everyone's been supportive, and then it's just this never-ending support that we'll be getting from this church as well. Not just physically, psychologically, but also spiritually. It's not like straight away, go to WSCC, attend that church. We went to what? Easy 6.
Yeah, wow.
Imagine going to 7 churches every single Sunday. And then, but you know what? I thank God that He had given us this opportunity to be part of this church.
Yeah, it's like filling our cup.
Yeah.
And it's just so powerful to hear, as I said, that it wasn't an accident. Yeah, the fact that you guys visited 6 to 7 churches, and for somehow that you guys found home in this community, and you can't explain that except for to say that God really had a plan for you guys from the beginning, and to have your entire family planted here, right? And it's so beautiful to see Cypress, Tony, Marley.
When one of the first times I met him, and this was, I think, this was probably the first time you guys came.
Yeah.
And I think I was assisting Sunday school. And then at the end I said, okay, how did you enjoy? He said, I highly recommend this place.
Give you 5 stars.
I'll give you 5 stars.
That's actually the first thing he said when we asked him. So how was Sunday school? I love it, Mom. Can we come back? Can we come back? And they were like, okay, we need to go another church. And okay, we'll come back.
And the rest is history.
And we're here.
I'm not even
One of his first weeks of youth, and basically, like, we were going back and forth, teams split into 2 teams, and one person with a mic and basically like saying something, and Marley, he stood up and he took the mic and he said something. It was really funny, right? And he was like, this is that, and then he goes like this, and then and in slow motion all the youth leaders like
If you can just, take a picture of it.
but it was so funny.
Marley,
Yeah.
please do
It was
not
like
do that again. I
no
said,
one's
yes,
ever
Dad.
done it, but I was like, Marley,
Don't
I'm
do
proud
that
of you.
again.
Someone's gonna do it.
He was really sorry after that.
And then it was like, Dad, I'm so scared. Why? I think that mic's expensive. And that mic. But it was one of the best times there.
Yeah.
sorry, not sorry.
I remember what I think about WSCC. It's family. Like, I still remember that first day when I came to WSCC. Everyone's so friendly. I remember even the youth were saying hi to me. And every single person, all the titos and the titas, they're all saying hi, like, hi, I'm Lito, I'm Gemma. And we've never been to any church. Like, as a new person coming to this church, it feels like I've known everyone here for such a long time. And I think one of the things as well that I think of this church is a very loving community. And they don't judge people, like they're there for you. They have this open hand. If you need anything, they're there for you to support you as well. And I'll stay here 100%. You can't kick me out of this church. I'll be here. You can come and see me anytime if you need anything. So I thank God for this church that it gave us this opportunity to grow, and also our kids to grow in this church. And I thank the pastors, the team leaders as well, and everyone. And even the welcoming team, the praise and worship team, the guys at the back. You guys are amazing. And there's billions of church in this world, but we're here.
Yeah.
And I thank you,
led
Lord.
us to WSCC, and we're so grateful.
Yeah.
And something that I really enjoyed coming to. They brought me closer to God, and my relationship with Jesus has
And I've
made me
witnessed
stronger.
that 100%. like, don't get me wrong, she's the time that we arrive at this church, like her intimacy with the Word and with God is different, and I felt that as well. So I thank God. And also it strengthened our relationship as a husband and wife 100% when we came to this church, and I thank God for that one again.
So we were looking at all these items that you brought, a watch that your dad used to own, and this frame of a photo. And beneath it we have this jar of clay. And this jar of clay is basically what our life looks like. And maybe it's has some dents, some scratches, some cracks, but somehow through those weaknesses, God shines through that. And I just wanted to hear a little bit about what your jar of clay looks like and how God's been working through you and in your life. Yeah.
I have my weaknesses. I admit that. I'm still in that journey. And one of the struggles that I probably have is unforgiveness, pride. Those are the things that I really had to work on. And God used that situation and reminded me that, Kristine, I have forgiven you. Why can't you forgive? And it's hard because I was hurt. And how can you forgive someone that doesn't say sorry? But I do that all the time to God. So I was just reminded that, Kristine, I have forgiven you many times. You should know that, and you should be an example of that. So it wasn't an easy until I learned to surrender, and it set me free.
Yeah, wow.
I think it's a burden that I'm not meant to carry, and God showed me that I've already put that in the cross. You don't need to carry that, so just give it to me. It wasn't easy. It took me a while to learn that, and I'm still learning, but every day I chose to do that, and every time I remember, I just choose to forgive. I may not say that personally to that person, but I just surrender it to God, that, Lord, this is yours. Like, I don't want to carry it. I don't want to have that in my life. And it made my heart really hard. So when I released that to Him, it's like He gave me a new heart. So that's just one of the things that I struggled in my life. And then the fear, the doubts. One of my mentors mentioned to me, remember what the Lord has done in your life, all the good things that He has done for you and your family. Just remember that, and remember His faithfulness to you. He will bring you through it. Whatever situation you are in, no matter how hopeless, there's still hope, and you have a God who loves you.
And I think that's powerful, just to hear that it's actually out of the places where you were hurt and the places where your doubts and unforgiveness and pain exists, that it was in that place that God empowered you to be able to love like He does and to forgive like He does. And that itself is God's name being magnified through you, right, in your life. And that even though, you know, you had to go through all those things that would have been unfair and unjust and painful, but God somehow uses that to glorify and magnify Himself through you, and I can see that, and, you know, through your life. And yeah, thank you for sharing. Yeah, Jared.
One of the cracks, probably I'll say, used to be a hot-tempered person.
Oh wow.
Yeah, it took me a long time. Yeah, I'm not a perfectionist, but I just want everything right, you know. But God has given me the chance to change that, you know. And probably the past few years or several years, I wasn't looking after myself. There was a time that back in 2020, I had one of the worst COVID a human can get. I was in ICU for nearly 3 weeks. I was in induced coma. Both of my lungs collapsed because of COVID. My right heart failed. I think it was the second day when the doctor called you, saying that Jared's body is not cooperating. We don't know what's going to happen. So it's to a certain point that the doctor has to call Kristine about my status. And yeah, so I think after a few days, my body cooperated, it's changed. They called Kristine, they said, he's getting better, but we still have to induce him. I was, for 3 weeks I was induced coma, and then I woke up. I have a tube in my mouth, an NGT. There's a wire straight to my neck that goes to my heart. I have a catheter and I have an IV on my left arm. And then I remember when I woke up, I couldn't move. And then I remember I was disoriented, don't know what's happening. And then eventually the doctor told me that you've been in coma for the past few weeks. And apart from that, the doctor said, all right, your lungs are clean now, all good, but the problem is you can't walk. You have to train yourself how to walk again. So after a month at the hospital, I have to train myself to go physio. I remember they saying, oh, it will take you 6 months before you can walk again. But because of perseverance, because of God's grace, I think it took probably a month, right? A month and a half before I start walking again. And then after that, again, I didn't look after myself. Just last December 2023, 26th of December, Boxing Day, took the kids to the arcade. I know I'm not feeling well, and all of a sudden I couldn't move. So I still drove myself to our place and told Kristine we have to go to the hospital. And then once we get to Westmead, they found out that my carbon dioxide was around 80. A normal one should be just 40, 42. So they have to take me inside the emergency room again. And then
It's like a deja vu.
Deja vu, like what happened to me 2 years before, like same
It's
thing.
happening again.
And then I remember the doctor was telling me that, I remember he was touching my chest, and he's like, just to let you know, you're in a critical condition, Mr. Tan. And I remember 2 doctors said that to me. And seeing doctors there, I remember one doctor's calling another doctor. There's another doctor reading a book right next to me, and I can tell that they don't know what's happening. So I remember I was really scared. Like I remember I cried, and the doctor told me, you have to call your wife. You have to tell your wife that you're in a serious condition, and she has to be here. And again, I cried to the Lord. I told him that, save me again from this. And then it took them, I stayed there for nearly 10 days. I spent my New Year's Eve, New Year's Day, and there was a time that they don't know what's happening. They have to do a lot of tests, and eventually they found out that there's a problem with my breathing. And then that's the time when the doctors recommended me to do the bariatric surgery. And then after that, so booked the appointment for the bariatric surgery, went to Philippines and did my surgery there. And again, just the night before my surgery, I think 2 days before my surgery, they found out both of my lungs shrunk to 50%. So my organs are pushing up my lungs. That's why it's harder for me to breathe. And again, I remember the doctor sat me and then mentioned that this is a critical operation, a critical surgery. It can lead to death. It's a high risk. I remember that night calling Kristine that I want to get out of here. I don't want, but she said that you're there. God has placed you there. We just prayed. I remember the day after I was in that operating room, told the doctors I have to pray first before we start, and after, normally it will take 3 hours, it took them 5 to 6 hours with the operation. And then I woke up, I thank God for that another life. And then so that point, that turning point, that I told myself that I have to look after myself, you know. Actually, this is my 8th life now.
How many lives?
Yeah. I remember when I was young, at the age of 10, 12, I contracted a disease in Hong Kong, which is called shingles, or herpes zoster, they called it. But normally only all adults get that. But at the age of 10, I remember getting that, and I was in and out of the hospital. But thank God that I survived that one. Second one, my first car crash. I remember I had straight to an electric pole, and waking up, I remember the steering wheel is right next to my chest, and there was a light post right next to me. So imagine, like, I survived that accident, that I nearly hugged the post. But I remember that person, the fireman, dragging me out of that vehicle with no scratches, no nothing, no internal bleeding. And then the next 2 ones, I nearly drowned, one in Monavale. I remember, and lucky the lifeguard saw me. He was on his way home. He was inside his ute, and then he looked to his right and saw me because I was outside the flags, and he grabbed his board and then he saved me. And the last one in Bondi, again, I nearly drowned, and another lifeguard saved me. And then the 5th one was the COVID one, the 6th one was last December, and the 7th one was my operation. So the Lord has given me a lot of chances, and not many people in life get those chances, you know. 1, 2, 3, 4, like 7 chances. Like, I thank God for, that's why I'm sharing this, that, you know, a lot of people tell me that miracles only happen back in Jesus' time and before. I said, no, I've experienced it personally, and sometimes we take things for granted, you know. But after this, and after the last December, I remember I've just told the Lord that, you know, I'm going to change. I'm gonna do everything to live a healthy life as well.
It's his turning point.
Yes, not just physically but also spiritually. But God didn't stop, you know, guiding me, giving me a new set of life, and it's good that our God is a good God.
The fact that you're here today is a miracle, right? And the fact that God is really gracious and evident in your life and your family. And I think our church family and whoever is hearing this would feel the same to hear your stories, the suffering and the trials that you guys had to endure, and seeing God pull through time and time again in your life to be here today. That this photo you've brought, and this watch that you've brought, and just this whole life that you've lived so far, and it's a promising future of how good God is and what God has in store for you guys and for each and one of us, right? Being His children.
I remember this one man said, a wise man said, do not pray for an easy life. Pray for the strength to endure a difficult one. That's Bruce Lee, by the way. Yes. Yeah. So sometimes we always want the easy getaway, the easy part in life. But if we're a follower of God, like nothing is impossible. Like sometimes in those situations that
Seems hopeless. There is hope.
There is hope.
And that is Jesus.
And that is Jesus Christ.
Wow. I think you guys just wrapped it up so perfectly for us, right? That yes, Jesus is indeed our hope and the perfecter of everything, and even in our sufferings, right?
Yes.
And He is real. You just have to pause and look what He has done in your life, and that's where you will see Him. And He will meet you exactly where you are.
That's why at the end of the day we have to share the good news to the people. Like share, like I'm not saying you have to bombard them with the Bible, but at the end of the day,
you just have to live out who Christ is in your life. Like you just have to live it out and be an example of who Christ in you.
Sometimes you don't have to say Bible verse, just how they see how you live at
how
work,
you
at school,
others.
how you treat each other and other people as well.
That's right, and I guess that is the clay jar that we all carry with us, right? A jar that is human, but yet still glorifies and magnifies God throughout life. So I guess that leaves us with a question of what kind of life are we living, and what are we magnifying and glorifying? Is that Jesus? So thank you so much, Jared and Kristine, for being with us and sharing your story.
Thank you, God. Thank you, God.